Hi everyone and welcome back. I hope you're doing really well. I'm coming on this week to do a live premiere about Venus in Sagittarius, actually. Quite a benefic and lovely transit that we're going to be talking about this week. And the reason that I'm focusing on Venus in Sagittarius is because I recently made also a video on Venus in Scorpio, and I wanted to make a more positive and fun video before we get into some heavier concepts for the rest of the year. So Venus in Sagittarius, the dates will be below in the description box, and I'll probably edit them into the video here as well. We'll be having this transit certainly for all of October and getting us into a bit of November as well. I'm really happy to be talking to you guys about it because I think it's a really nice breath of fresh air. And I just kind of wanted to talk about a few different things today. Not just Venus and Sagittarius, but we're going to use it as a sort of platform on which to talk about some optimistic and healthy ideas and concepts and possibilities as we move through a really crucial period of time. So first, I will brace you guys. November and December, I'm going to be doing live premieres every Friday throughout it because it's such a huge astrological time. And we're going to be dealing with some heavy stuff, okay? We're going to be dealing with some eclipses. We're going to be dealing with, obviously, preparing to enter into a new calendar year, having a lot of things shift into a different way of being. So lots of knots about to be worked out as planets go direct. We come into an eclipse season, and then we go into a calendar new year of 2022. So that's what's going to be on the roster for the channel. And I hope that you guys will hit the subscribe button below and turn on the bell notifications because it's going to be a wild ride throughout the rest of 2021. And we've got to really be keenly aware of how we are creating in our lives, what we're creating, what we are setting ourselves up for, and what we want to really experience in life, because there's going to sort of be, by the calendar new year, an evident and decisive push into a needed path, okay? So there's going to be a lot of falling away for a lot of people by the calendar new year as they really decide what they want to partake in and what they don't want to partake in. And that is going to start to get harsh in eclipse season at the end of November if we can't start to do some positive changes here. Okay, if we can't have some positive reception, some healthy growth, some benevolence, okay, benefic injection of energy, as this Venus in Sagittarius, right, is going to be right at the midpoint sextile to Jupiter and Saturn in Aquarius. So Venus is guiding these two middle planets out of their retrograde and creating, yes, I'm going to say it, a new 20-year cycle, okay? And that's not just Venus and Sagittarius doing that. That's a symptom of Jupiter and Saturn going direct in Aquarius being in the same sign, and that's happening on October 18th. I already made a video about that. I'll link it below and in the top right hand corner. But the role of Venus in this transit is that it actually might just totally mitigate a difficult karma for some people. So if you've been really struggling with torrential indecisiveness, if you've been catastrophizing situations, if you've been between a rock and a hard place, if you've been giving yourself the hardest time in the world about what you want to be, what you want to do, what you want to move forward with, what you don't, if you've been overcomplicating your process, if you've been tense for no good reason, or for a good reason even. I think that Venus, as it comes right past the south node in Sagittarius and hits the midpoint by sextile to Jupiter and Saturn moving direct, actually heals a karma for some people, and it heals an old wound, and it brings with it a nice kind of wind. You know, like for any of you who have sailed ships, like obviously moving the direction of the wind and how you work with the wind in the sails is kind of an important aspect of that, right? To me, this feels like a good headwind, or this feels like a nice warm wind in the momentum that we need. So now you can kind of really see during this period of time with the entire transit of Venus in Sagittarius, so throughout this entire few weeks, month or so, you're going to know what's against momentum and what's moving with momentum. It's going to really teach us about momentum, and it's also going to really show us like what we're meant for, okay? And what we need to do, but can we release resistance enough to move into that, and can we just let ourselves figure stuff out, okay? The main thing that I've been feeling, you see, I've been meditating on this topic as I've been like driving for the last few days, and it's really been coming through. And I was thinking about making a video not about Venus and Sagittarius this week. And I'm like, I've got to make a video about it, because I kept feeling so strongly was very simple, and it was this. It was just let things easily fall into place. Like, let things be what they are. Let things be. Let things exist in their momentum. Let the momentum show you how to move forward instead of trying to set the momentum yourself. So yeah, we do have God complexes right now for a lot of people, as a lot of people are being a little bit too deliberate with their momentum and being almost as if you can imagine a ship or a captain of a ship trying to create the wind rather than working with the wind. This transit can kind of get us back into the right area where we're working with the wind instead of trying to create the wind, or instead of trying to, maybe even a better comparison is forcing yourself, in opposition. Okay. But now you have more allowing momentums that you can sail on. Okay. And this is the important part of this Venus and Sagittarius transit, is to allow nature to work things out, and also allow your previous actions to show you the momentum. Like, don't be afraid to see the momentum that you set. Don't be afraid to see the arc. Okay, so the arc of your momentum, the trajectory that you're on. I feel like for a lot of people, it's gotten a lot better, even in the last few days or the last few weeks. And there's a bit of a repetitive thing going on right now as we got into such a retrograde period that a lot of us had to just go back into an old situation and figure it out. And a lot of us are now repeating something in a more auspicious way, I feel like. So there might be a very similar backdrop, or a very similar aesthetic to a previous loss. And I talked a lot about that in October's comprehensive video. And that is a large part of October, is about proving to yourself that you, with your own effort, can create the experience that you want. And right as we kind of prove that to ourselves, it's like this transit is coming in and it's being like, okay, you can do it, but wouldn't it be a lot nicer to now go with natural momentum, or to now follow a path that's like really about your sole purpose, and not just about proving to yourself some type of autonomy, or proving to yourself some type of capacity to have your own momentum and your own control over your life. Okay. That's one thing that I will point out for this general time, is the self-control, the control that one has over their own lives, over their own finances, over their own trajectory, should now at this time be very solidified. And you can actually, with this Venus in Sagittarius, get less controlling and just know that it's coming into your life. So what I'm trying to pinpoint here is Nine of Swords territory, right? Like losing sleep over your bank balance, losing sleep over, am I going to be able to sustain the lifestyle that I'm living now? Losing sleep over, will I actually be able to step onto that path I really want to be on? Will I be able to keep following it, or will I fall off of it? That should start to conclude starting now. Okay, starting now, like by the time you're hearing this video, that's actually very new, to no longer have that fear, or to no longer doubt the path that you are creating with such soul. So paths that we create with soul, journeys that we are almost afraid to enter because it's so perfect and so right, and we're scared that if we give ourselves the initiative to actually do it and mess up, that we'll never forgive ourselves. So that's major right now. That's a big thing. I'm seeing so many people who've gotten the glimpses, who've gotten the impetus, who've gotten the motivation and the catalyst, and everything's lining up to do what they have always been meant to do, though there's hesitation. There's hesitation to actually commit, because and this is an interesting little phenomena that I'm seeing here at this time. When something is so right, when something is so you, that you're almost, or one is almost, I'm using the general you, not like second person you, that one is almost compelled not to follow it and rather like dream about it from a distant place and keep it as kind of a jewel of selfhood that's not really shared, or it's private, okay? And this, yes, has to do with a retrograde Neptune in Pisces, that retrograde so far back and pulled us back into that middle decan almost of Pisces that is about deep dream states and not about actual transformation that the third decan of Pisces becomes about. And to me, this also has to do with the retrograde Jupiter as well. Also trying to move back to the second decan of Aquarius, though it's not going to quite get there, is it? But nonetheless, it's like the dream planets, Jupiter and Neptune, having gone so backward, it's like I don't want to follow my dreams because I don't trust myself. I don't feel that my dreams are an adequate sobriety, or I don't feel that my dreams are true. I feel that they are only dreams because they're dreams. Does this make sense? Like sometimes we glamorize things because they're not real or because we don't know what they're actually about. There is a bit of that at this time too, and I think that that's also indicated by this South Node Venus activation that we've had over the last week and moving forward. So that's another interesting component of that, and why I had to make a video about these past two Venus signs, Venus in Scorpio and Venus in Sag. I did make a Venus in Scorpio video too. You should definitely check that one out. Because the nodes are about to go over the cusp, aren't they? They're about to go from Sagittarius and Gemini to Scorpio and Taurus. And that means that we are about to see what we're made of. That means that we are about to see something we never knew existed. We are about to see how the sausage factory really works, as a lot of people are saying right now. That's a very, popular little, I guess, analogy, metaphor, I don't know, series of words. That's what the North Node in Scorpio and Taurus is about. It's about seeing how things really work and what the factory is really like, or what the full machine is in its full capacity. So something that I was recommending in, I think it was like Virgo and Leo's October reading, making so much content the brain tries to remember, is watching out for turning yourself into a factory, okay? Very careful and very cautious with not, I want to say, granting yourself humanity. So for people who are so money-centric or so entrepreneurial, such workaholics, or so dedicated to their craft, I don't feel that this is a great time for those periods, for those types of people, because I feel that the universe is offering something to most of us that we don't have to work for. And yes, as we step onto that path and as we pursue it, there's going to be a lot of work there, especially if you like work, there's going to be a lot of work. But we're actually being given something during this time, whether it's an idea, whether it's the impetus to pursue some kind of career, whether it's just like great friends or great companionship. I feel that Venus coming over the nodal axis, hitting that midpoint of Jupiter and Saturn, something is given in a huge way by the universe. And I'm getting chills as I'm saying this. And this is why this video was so important to make. Maybe one of the most important videos of this year in a weird way. Like, lo and behold, a Venus transit ends up being one of the most important videos of the year. But because of the way that, to me intuitively as an astrologer, other astrologers might not agree, comment below and tell me what you think about this. But because of Venus timing, right as Jupiter and Saturn are about to go direct, and it hitting that midpoint by sextile, the sextile angle in astrology is not one of the most potent angles. Like, it's not a square in opposition or a conjunction. It's a much more easy angle in similarity to like a trine, and it's probably secondary even to trines when it comes to outcomes. But sextiles, you'd be surprised about how much they can allow a passage. It's like the results or changes that you don't even have to try to achieve. They just kind of fall into place, almost like how a Rubik's Cube like clicks into place. Like you don't have to push, like things just happen, things just change, results just come, things are given, things fall into place. Sextiles, yeah. And I just think it's such interesting timing that right as these planets are going station and direct, that Venus hits that sextile. It's by the nodes. These are the types of like deep astrological transits that are huge. Okay, they're small, but they're huge in that way. That how much we can be granted, given, and motivated by. Because Venus in Sagittarius, I have a Venus video as well. Gosh, I'm going to be linking so many videos in the description box. But check out the Venus in Sagittarius portion of my Venus in Astrology video. And that might be a good way to also access the energy, because when I think of Venus in Sagittarius, I think of good luck. I think of benefic passage. I think of positive experiences of travel. I think of diplomacy. I think of wonderful results from life's philosophy, from the less physical aspects of life, but more of the mental progress, the non-physical progress that then spurs physical results. Coming from the South Node, there's a very easy time to connect with a deeper knowledge. So not just the knowledge that you get logistically through advisors or through teachers or through anything like that, but a deeper knowledge, a past life knowledge, even with South Node being there, a deep wisdom about what is and is not perhaps the best way to receive in your life. And, I think that some astrologers might interpret this transit as receiving past life karma. That could be an interesting way to go with it. And I think of it more as actually, and this is really incredible, a new level of forgiveness. Okay? I'm sensing forgiveness with this particular configuration. So that could mean different things for different people. Like you might be forgiven during this transit, or you might forgive someone else for what they did to you and clear up enough space in your energetic signature to pursue what you actually need to do. Because this is really interesting. When we hold grudges, when we don't acknowledge another person's autonomy, and we have expectations that we hold on to, expectations and grudges are very similar. When those are a part of our daily experience or a part of our foundation in life, there's very little room to actually grow. There's very little room to participate in something new. There's very little room to be very free oneself. So when forgiveness becomes possible on either side of that coin, that's when you can actually make a successful change in your life. That's when you can take a leap of faith, and that's when you can actually feel like the path you're on resonates with your soul and not just with your bank account, or not just with, what you think consistency is, or not just with what other people want for you. This is the type of time that forgiveness is front and center, and it's given naturally. So it's not something we have to overthink. It's not something we have to be like, well, what does forgiveness even mean? Is it possible? Do they deserve it? Whether or not someone deserves forgiveness is beyond the context of one's decision-making process to forgive. I mean, we can get cliche and talk about how different forgiving and forgetting is. We can get cliche and talk about how there are unforgivable sins or unforgivable things. And that's all very philosophical and all very nice to waste time thinking about. But I got to get really real with you guys and anyone listening to this video. Lacking in forgiveness doesn't do much to another person who's done you wrong. That does a lot to you. That doesn't do much to them. So this is kind of a type of situation where we either need to make an action or we need to move on and actually start doing some meaningful action in our lives instead of getting stuck in Nine of Swords, getting stuck in Ten of Wands, getting stuck in the Tower card, and prolonging our own suffering by thinking that we're doing some type of hearty, noble good by choosing not to forgive, or choosing to base our momentum going forward on what another person has done, okay? And don't get me wrong, it's not about vindicating actions. So forgiveness is not really a vindication. Forgiveness, I need to make a new updated video about forgiveness in general. But we get really, I think this has to do with language even. Like the word forgive and what that means is so different for so many different people. When we forgive, we're not making another person's actions okay. We're not vindicating them. We're not deciding or signifying what their choices were for them. But what we are doing is we're looking at our life, our path, our self, and we're choosing for that experience, that memory, or that grudge to not be a preventative in whether we live a nice life. Because lacking in forgiveness, or choosing not to move past something, or even to a degree letting previous past scenarios be catalysts still in your present, these things all are like eclipse energy. And so it's already coming on. Like, we're not even in eclipse season yet, but it's already coming in. We kind of eclipse our own energy when we let the choices of other people, or our experience vicariously through other people, be such an anchor, or such a burden in our own experience. So forgiveness to me with the current configurations looks like relief. It looks like the choice to choose, the freedom to choose what we want to do now, not based on the past inconvenience, not based on the past choices of another person, but based on what's right for us, and based on these glimpses of soul purpose that many of us have been receiving over the last year. So, to be very clear, I'm not saying that understanding previous difficulties, previous traumas, previous hardships is a bad thing. But what I feel that having Jupiter and Saturn in Aquarius, such an emotionally detached sign, such a cycle creating configuration, and Venus sextile from the very optimistic, very jovial sign of Sagittarius at the midpoint when they're turning direct, it says to me that there's no room for the sad story with this. There's no room for the damsel in distress. There's no room for these things. Like, this is like kind of like warrior stuff here. This is like, you know, all these experiences that have been so difficult and so catastrophic and so shadowy can't be the basis of any healthy momentum now, but rather the purity of what we want moving forward becomes the center point, and that actually gets us there, right? And doesn't create such a existential and difficult period of time. So moving on with this, understanding that forgiveness might come through in a very healing way during this time, there's probably going to be synchronicities, I would say, with this transit. Lots of synchronicities, like being given what was taken from you as like a positive karma, reception especially of positive karma with this transit, and over the rest of October, and I would say leading up to mid-November. Now, once we hit late November and get into eclipse season, not what this video is about, but yes, we are going to have to really, really work with what we actually want, and not so much with paths that were born from these traumas. Okay, very important coming up. So it's kind of good to prepare in advance, but we're not quite there yet. But it's good to accept what the universe is giving you and not question it right now. I see a lot of people being like, wow, this beautiful house, or wow, this incredible career, wow, this incredible program that I'm in. What way is it going to fragment and go wrong? In what way is this going to drop me into turmoil? Scorpio season coming on, eclipse season coming on, we can feel it's like, ooh, there's kind of an eerie feeling that is already starting. But what I'm feeling, and this is an important distinguishing factor, I'm proud that we're going over this as well, is that we're not meant to be afraid of the current reality. Okay, I don't sense that this is a time that creates a fearful experience for anybody, but what it does is it emphasizes core principles. So if we have a core principle of creating turmoil, of needing the existential crisis to be catalyzed into what we really need to do, that would become, yes, very much a part of the experience. But with this configuration, it says to me that we can relinquish that and be given what we need. And then we can move forward into this eclipse season, late November, early December, and really choose then how to keep, like, it snowballs. These better experiences snowball. So again, pulling that down into a more digestible, less arbitrary message. Try to not overthink things. Try to let things be. Like, try to understand that other people have autonomy and that you can't really control that. Predispositions, predestining, trying to be like, okay, when I go into this situation tomorrow, I want it to go exactly like this, and I want everybody to act like this, and I expect that everybody's going to be like this, is a recipe for disaster. Ooh, all of this Aquarius and Sagittarian energy says that there's a frenetic and erratic way that events take place. So you could be, especially if you're dealing with crowds or you're dealing with being in public places, it could be really manic or really wild. As I would also diagnose a sort of collective mania with this sextile from Venus and Sagittarius to Jupiter and Saturn in Aquarius. Also, looking at other transits, getting into Scorpio season, Mars moving up towards Scorpio, Mercury moving up towards Scorpio. So just speaking collectively and speaking, again, arbitrarily, it's not a very well time for a lot of people. A lot of people's a lot of people, I'm just trying to think of the best way to word this. A lot of people's psychic, when I say psychic, I mean of the psyche, not like future predicting psychic, but like psychic of the psyche. A lot of people's psychic health would be in a dangerous point with this. Though I feel that those of us who are here and working so much with this, it can be one of the healthiest points, okay? This depends on the individual. Again, I'm not like a psychologist or anything, but entertainment purposes only. Look into the disclaimers in the video, in the description box. What I'm trying to say here is that you can't expect other people to be psychically well at this time if you're in a space. You can't hinge your psychic health on the psychic health of another person right now. That is that's the main point that I need to communicate in this video, is that our psychic health has to come from within. That's coming through forgiveness. That's coming through letting old things go. That's coming through knowing our path and knowing what it consists of and knowing what our itinerary of sorts is. And what it's specifically not coming from, our own psychic health, is a reliance on other people outside of us acting a certain way that we have pre-fathomed or predicted, or about any type of social code being abided by, or about having control over the way that other people express. If one based their psychic health on that right now, they would not be healthy in any way. Because put less delicately, people are crazy right now with this kind of transit. We've had that debilitated Mars, Sun, Mercury in Libra. We've had 7 retrogrades. We've had a debilitated Venus. We've had a debilitated Mercury trine Jupiter, trine Saturn. I'm sorry, it's been a mess. It's been a mess astrologically. Honestly, probably a historic Mercury retrograde period that we're still in, but especially when Mercury was stationing before it went retrograde and beginning its retrograde cycle in Libra. I mean, hit that thumbs up button to this video. Get it out there. Get the YouTube algorithm going wild and insane, because I think everybody else is with these transits. Can I get a thumbs up for that? Hit that thumbs up below. A little bit of astrological humor. We're trying to get by here on YouTube. God help us. Bringing this back to an easier idea of tranquility is that you can really take tranquility to a new level. What I love about Venus South Node conjunction in Sagittarius, Venus is going to transit all the way from that South Node, going to go up and sextile Jupiter. And so getting a date for that, I'm just going to get a date for you guys because that's going to be lovely. Yeah, so October 28th, 2021, we have an exact Jupiter-Venus sextile, and Jupiter has been direct for about a week there. It's really starting to speed up. That is called good karma. Okay, that is called congratulations. That is called, I don't know, champagne. That is called celebration, ceremonies, and I don't know, a favorable algorithm. Come on, YouTube, let's get a favorable algorithm going. more jokes, but fire and air, growth, potential, knowing how to overcome things, not being held down by a previous thing, and being pretty impressed with how you've like warriored through a difficult set of circumstances. So I want you to know, like, if you're struggling right now prior to October 28th and leading up to that, that if you just kind of keep warrioring through and keep doing what you know you need to do and meet your deadlines, meet your goals, as difficult as they may be, there are rewards. That's another thing that I've been getting psychically over the last few days. The main thing has been let things ease into place, let things be, don't mess with things too much. And the other thing has been there are rewards, period. So yeah, there are rewards on the line. There are positive situations coming in if we can allow ourselves to be healthy and if we can allow ourselves not to rely on the actions of others for that. And that's kind of hard. I mean, not all of us are in that situation. Some of us are dependent on unwell people. That's a hard place to be. That's a place that I've been in my life before, and I can contest that that's not a nice thing in any way, shape, or form. So this could be an interesting time to move away from that, if you have that in your life, and to know how to do that and to choose it instead of fortifying and creating a status quo out of chaos. And, you know, before we conclude this video, before we move on, I'm trying to understand, because it feels like there's something else that needs to come through. There have to be okay points in our lives. 2021 year cycle, 10 of Wands energy. A lot about getting a lot of things in order, working with a lot of projects, working with a lot of deadlines and fast-moving stuff over and over again. I think that this has to be an okay point of it. Like, I really feel like there's a healing opportunity here during this time. I feel like there's a coming of age. I feel like it's natural. I don't feel like it's forced. I feel like it's not a 6 of Swords type of coming of age, but rather it's a 9 of Pentacles type of coming of age. And I feel that to overwork during this time, or to continue to be paranoid, afraid, or reliant on another person who's crazy, would be really unfortunate. So it's almost like, can we allow ourselves a good time? Try to give yourself a good time. What I'm trying to say, try to enjoy yourself. I'm not saying go off the deep end and don't do what you're supposed to do, like quit your job, nothing like that. I'm not saying to do anything like that. Or like, if you associate your job with like a hard time, or if you have a lot of difficult deadlines, I'm not saying that you've got to like quit the job or not meet the deadlines to give yourself an easy time. What I am saying is that there's a new level of Zen tranquility, Zen pioneer energy that we can step into. while accomplishing deadlines, while continuing our jobs, while continuing the work that matters to us. And with that, a new level of productivity. Seasonal productivity, it seems like, but nonetheless, better quality work, home life, all of the above, by forgiving, okay? Being forgiven for some people, and kind of knowing that there's a limit to what people can actually do to control you too. Like, it kind of goes both ways. Like, as we realize, like, okay, maybe we don't have control over that other person. Maybe our own control is limited. It goes both ways in a really cool way where it's like, other people can try to, mess with you. Other people can try to look at you funny. Other people can, like, make all kinds of little efforts. And it's interesting to see the limit that those things have past this point in time as well. So it's really an incredible time. And it's an incredible time to care with grace. I had a really incredible person in my life who I really looked up to many, many, many years ago, who taught me about this concept called caring with grace. And I'm going to have to save that for a video for another day, but I'll break it down a little bit here because it's very relevant to a Venus and Sagittarius video. Sometimes we really glorify outlandish, dramatic, and temperamental emotional experiences. But to care with grace and to overcome that, because, I think everybody might have struggled at some point in time with lacking in control of their emotions or something. Here we really get rewarded for a more graceful demeanor and a more caring demeanor. And I'm not talking about, when I say demeanor, I don't mean an appearance of care, an appearance of grace. I mean true action-based, integrity-based grace and caring is really the way forward here, you guys. So with the idea or concept of forgiveness, this might not have to do with anybody else. This might not have to do with past trauma, or actually it could, but what this might really have to do is, when I say forgive, sometimes to me that thinks of ending certain cycles. Like, to me, the word forgive means end a cycle. It doesn't mean vindicate. It doesn't mean admonish someone for what they have or haven't done. It doesn't mean forget about a previous experience. To me, it means end a cycle. So we can, in essence, forgive our own emotional cycles. And as we do that, we clear out so much space that we can do what matters in our lives. So with that, everyone, I'm going to leave you, and I want to invite you now over to my Patreon page for weekly Saturday tea chats. I have a video, which is a teaser. It's my last video that I made prior to this one, so you can click over to my channel. It's a snippet of the weekly forecast that I do every week over there on Patreon, and I really invite you all over there. If you've wanted to support an independent creative on YouTube, you can do that through Patreon, and you can also get a lot of extra fun bonus content. It's not just support for support's sake. It's its own little platform that I've created over there, and I really work so hard to provide incredible benefits for that membership service. So yes, you will get weekly tea chats every Saturday. I do all the general monthly readings early and ad-free over there, so no ads on the general readings monthly. And I also do a benevolence audio stream. There's a lot over there, so I just really wanted to invite you guys over to it because, this is a full-time effort for me. I spend so much time and effort, and if you wanted to support that in a new way, totally optional. I, of course, pride my creative business here on YouTube as offering free products first and foremost through the form of these free videos on YouTube. But at the same time, if you want to take that further, I am on Patreon. And I also have some other links that I'll put below too that you can also check out if you wanted to support this channel. There's also a join button. That's an option too. But nonetheless, if none of that's possible, the like button is very helpful. The comments are great. Let me know how you're doing. And be sure to hit the subscribe button. All free ways to support the channel as well. So anyway, everyone, I hope you have a wonderful experience of Venus in Sagittarius, and what a nice, healing, little positive, rejuvenating point before stuff gets real. Okay, so I'll talk to you all soon. Have a great week ahead. I'm doing live premieres every Friday on YouTube at 6 p.m. Pacific time, 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern time. Come see me, come chat, come partake in these fun experiences, and yes, so live premieres. Thank you so much, everyone. Fun stream of consciousness. Have a great week. Much love. Bye.